I am Dr. House of the Real House MD, and my guest tonight is Emma Cook. As everybody knows, I have an interest in nutrition, exercise, stress reduction, and wellness. And tonight, I want to talk about basically these subjects with young women. And I was like, oh, I know a young woman. So we are going to have a discussion with my daughter, Emma House. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So to get started, so when did you first become aware of things like nutrition and fitness? Like what were your like earliest memories?
I will say I grew up playing sports, so like the importance of like fitness was important because of the sport, not because I wasn't thinking when I was young because of my health, but I was thinking, oh, I want to play on my team. I want to get play time. So I thought about that. But then also my mom and dad ate healthy. So, and then I would see they're like, this is junk food. So I knew there was good and bad food kind of thing. I knew that I shouldn't be eating a bag of Cheetos for lunch.
So how young would you say were you when you first became aware?
I feel like probably like 8, 7. Um, that's when it stands out to me because after my grandfather had a heart attack, that's when y'all kind of went through more of like okay, we need to really look at what we're feeding our kids. And I remember because I had princess gummies and I was obsessed with Cinderella as a little girl. And I remember mom came back with these other gummies and uh they were just different and they were not, I mean, they weren't full of food dyes and stuff, but they were not the Cinderella gummies I was used to.
So was it as traumatic as it was for your brother when he lost toaster strudels?
No, he's being a little bit dramatic when he says that. And also, toast strudel, he probably was struggling in school if he did during the day with attention because of all the sugar he was getting in the morning.
So was there anything that you thought was hard to give up like at that age?
Not
Like was
really. It happened so young. I just remember noticing that there was a change.
uh-huh. And like how did you feel about the way you ate versus treats and those kind of things?
I when I was young, I don't remember it as much. I will say I felt like y'all loosened up a lot by the time Roddy was that age, where it was like when I was in high school, there'd be cookies at the house on weekends. But at first, when the health really
Body's
cracked,
5 years younger than you.
okay, never mind then. I just felt like maybe when I came back from college or when I was a senior in high school, a junior in high school, it was different than when I was 7. So maybe just my memory might be fogging, but I do feel like when I was in high school, it was different than when I was 7, where it was like, okay, treats on the weekends, we can have treats sometimes, but it's not. And then also that might be my memory not doing me correctly because I was also 7.
So what about like as you got into middle school, like or early high school, was there ever a time where you started like noticing celebrities or body image or things on TV or things like that?
Yeah. So basically, well, I feel like this makes sense if I just go through like what I thought at each stage. If I just tell it linear,
Okay.
that makes no sense
Uh-huh.
in my head.
Yeah.
So obviously, when I was a little girl, it was the early 2000s, right? So I grew up seeing Paris Hilton when she was on that show, like she had to fake being like on a ranch when she was tiny, and it was Lindsay Lohan, all these people who now we know were anorexic and on drugs, but at the time it was like glorified in the magazine. Look how great this person looks.
Was Paris Hilton on drugs? I don't want to get canceled here.
I'm pretty sure she was. Maybe
Okay.
not.
Okay.
Okay, sorry if
Oh,
I misspoke. I'll get
okay.
canceled. Just cut
Okay.
that out.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
crap. Well,
assuming I
you can
know how to
fact
edit.
check me. Fact checked me,
Okay.
and then you
Okay.
can put in the
Yeah.
caption.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
these celebrities were all super tiny and on the screen, and I was like, oh, I want to be super tiny one day. But I was little, so I wasn't really like in control of it. Not in control of it. I just wasn't thinking about that. I was living my life. I was a kid. But I was like, oh, these girls are known for being pretty. Those girls are tiny. That's what pretty girls look like. So then basically, I felt like I was a normal sized kid, right? And then I did go through an awkward phase when I was a little bit chubby, but that was more so I just needed to go through puberty and then I was
Uh-huh.
fine. But and then
Do
I
you
played
remember feeling any pressure, like any pressure at all, like from society or socially, or were you
in
pretty
middle
confident
school.
in
I
yourself?
will say when I went to middle school, that's when I really felt I was like, oh crap, like I don't look this way. Cause I hadn't gone through puberty and half of the class had. My birthday was in May and there was girls in my class who had birthdays in August. They're a couple months older than me. And I just felt like I looked different. And now I look at pictures and I just looked young.
Uh-huh.
But then blah blah blah, lived my life. High school, I was thin, and I realized early on in high school, I noticed that I was someone that had to look out for fitness and nutrition. Because basically I was playing sports and stuff, but then I started going out. Sorry, Dad. Started going out
Uh-huh.
and drinking with my friends. And with drinking comes, especially at a young age, is late night snacks. So obviously that's not good for you. No matter what you're eating, late night snacking at 1 a.m. is going to put pounds on. So I realized that pretty quickly. I was like, okay, I'm someone that has to watch my weight. So I reeled it in. But I was also playing field hockey and I wanted to start on the team. I wanted to get playtime, so I started running a lot. So I'd say my senior year, that was probably some of the fittest I've ever been because I was eating healthy because I wanted to maintain a certain weight, but I also wanted to start on my team, and I was really obsessed with hitting a mile time. So then I go to college, and basically I felt
Isn't there a
that
story about your uniform in high school? Like what was the problem with your uniform? Was
that was
that,
in high school. That was the actual school
and
calling you
that's
at
because you
work.
were still
My skirt
growing?
was too short because I thought that I cheated the system by buying a youth size skirt.
Uh-huh.
And because then they couldn't be like, oh, you rolled your skirt. So I was like, look. And then I had this one teacher at our psycho school that was like, can I buy you a skirt and hem it for you? And I was like, lady, we're at private school. It's not like I was like, that is so offensive. Like, but
So I thought it was because you just grew, and I thought it was ridiculous to buy new uniforms in the middle of the school year.
well, yes, that, but I also did buy a youth size skirt. I'll have my daughters do the same thing. If you wear your skirt to your knees, you're a loser.
Oh my gosh, okay.
I
All
might
right,
get
so
canceled tonight.
you were getting into college now. Okay, so you're in college.
So I go to college, right? And basically, growing up, and I hope to do this for my kids one day. I woke up, I had breakfast made for me, I had my lunches packed, snacks when I got home from school, and dinner was made, and it was all healthy. And I hope to like, I don't have anything like I want to do that one day for my kids. But I went to school,
So not to
college.
interrupt, when you were in that phase, were you ever like, "Oh, we eat weird," or "We are missing out on
Not
this
as much
stuff"?
when we got older because I
Uh-huh,
will say in high school, I cared about what I looked like, you
uh-huh.
know? So I didn't think we ate weird. I thought in elementary school, because I'd go to my friends' houses and they would have goldfish and stuff. And did a bad job of explaining this earlier. I was like, why don't we have this? And I just was too young to understand the shift in the food movement. I didn't
Uh-huh.
understand how my grandfather had a heart attack. Why don't I get my princess gummies? I just was too young. And I was like, my friend has and I remember thinking this. I was like, my friend has the princess gummies and she's skinny. So I didn't understand it was because of my health in my 50s and 60s, which is why I couldn't have the princess gummies. I thought
Yeah.
I didn't understand the long term consequences of processed food. Yeah, I was too young.
So to step in, how old were you when your grandfather had his heart attack?
I feel like I was 7 or 8. I was young.
So so just the time was that he totally overhauled his diet. I think at the time he did the Dean Ornish diet, which is a very famous cardiac diet. We didn't do anything like that, but what's known is that heart disease does start at a very young
Yes.
age. So we just kind of were like, we're not going to eat junk, and why not have our kids not be jacked up on sugar all the time. And we're like, why
Oh
not
yeah.
eat healthy food
Well,
so they maybe do better socially, do better athletically, do
yeah.
better academically. And so it wasn't super extreme because we still had pizza night and ice cream and birthday cakes, but it was just
Yeah, and this
more
is
of our,
also my memory fading just
yeah,
because I was so
yeah,
little.
and
And
more
I
of
will
on
say
a daily
I
basis.
would do the same thing for my kids, which I'll get
Yeah.
to later in this conversation just because of
Okay.
studies that show with processed food.
So
But
let's get into college.
so
So
I
you're
go to
not playing
college and
sports, you're on your own.
so
Uh,
essentially, I had my whole life, I had the workouts planned for me because I was always playing sports. I was working out on the weekends because I wanted to start on my team and just wanted playtime. Like I wanted to play the whole game. I didn't want to be benched. Um, so that I had the fitness stuff covered in high school and I had all my meals covered for me. I basically had a private chef. So then I go to college and I'm super excited, blah, blah, blah. I went to Ole Miss. Obviously, you know that, but for the listeners out there. And I realized, not at the time I didn't realize this. Now I realize I didn't know how to eat. I just wasn't aware of how to eat because I was like, oh, maybe this girl's eating that and she's skinny. Maybe I can eat this too. And I also was going out a lot, and with that comes late night snacks. I said this on my walking video, and I was like, drunk pretzels, and everyone was like, I want some drunk pretzels. I genuinely thought as a freshman in college, I was like, if I'm not getting the drunk pizza, I'm getting the drunk pretzels. This is going to be better for me, and I'm not going to gain weight. So anyway, I probably gained like 15 to. This is so embarrassing to admit to the world. Like 15 to 20 pounds freshman year. Like I look at pictures and I'm like, who is that? Like I could pop a hole in my cheeks. They were so puffy. I'm like, who
Oh,
is that? Like oink oink. What was I doing? Anyway, and I wasn't working out. I remember I tried going to the gym freshman year of college, like first semester. And now I know this about me is that I have to do the group fitness just because I'm competitive and I like the social aspect. But I'd go to the gym and run on the treadmill for 30 minutes, which some people love the treadmill. The treadmill for me is very different from running outside. I still try to run outside some like once a week, but that is different when you're like looking at all the houses and changes of scenery. Like that clears my head. Running on a treadmill to me, watching a show, listening to music or a podcast is just miserable. Some people love it. That's your prerogative. If you like it, go with it. That to me is not fun. And in college, I just was living in the dorms. I don't know why I wouldn't run around campus. I probably just felt embarrassed. But I just did not like going to the gym. I didn't know anything about strength training. And yeah, I just didn't have the I should have honestly joined like a Pure Bar or Pilates studio in Oxford at the time and done that. But I just didn't know about that myself that I need group fitness for me to be consistent with fitness. But anyway, so I come home freshman year of college, lose the weight, but then I go back to sophomore year and I still hadn't learned my habits myself. So I gained not the whole 20 pounds back, but I gained some weight. And at that point, I was kind of like, you know what? Some people are just heavier in college. You graduate college and then you lose it. But I didn't have a plan with that. I don't know why I thought that, but that's just kind of where my mindset was.
so because I think some people focus too much on weight, and maybe that's one of the problems. Did you feel okay and you were just heavier, or did you feel
Well,
worn down? Did
no,
you
that was
feel
the thing is that I look back, I have way, which I'll get in my lifestyle now later, but I have way much more energy now than I did then. Like
uh,
I had my skin was not as clear and people could argue that's age. I argue it was the processed food causing my skin to be like that. And when I say processed food, like I wasn't sitting there eating a bag of Cheetos. I have never been that girl. I know that Cheetos is bad, but I was maybe eating those fake healthy snacks that the food industry markets as healthy, like Skinny Pop, protein bars, protein shakes, which have their purpose in place, but you shouldn't eat those every day. It's still processed food. They have bioengineered ingredients in them. And then there's other stuff. I mean, I was still going out a lot. I was going out to dinner twice a week. That's not good for anybody, you know? Um, and I also feel like we know a lot more about the health and food industry now than we did back in 2017.
so in 2017, were you aware that, like, okay, when I'm at home, we eat whole foods, so like dinner would be a meat, a vegetable, a salad, and at college, were you like, oh, my plate looks very different, or
No,
were you not
honestly,
even
and
noticing as
I
much?
have thought about that. I just don't think it struck to me yet. I think my view on food at that time was you have to restrict yourself to be skinny. And I don't know exactly where that shift came from from high school. Because in high school, I don't feel like when I look back and think about what I ate every single day of high school, I don't felt like I restricted myself at all. So I don't know when that view changed in my head, but I was just kind of like at college, I was like, well, at home we eat so healthy, and here I just have to restrict myself so I can still have fun with my friends.
So, and was there social pressure both ways? Like social pressure, maybe to look good, so you felt guilty about eating, but also social pressure the other way, where you're trying to eat healthy, and people are like, "Oh, have the pizza. You're already."
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. I remember my sophomore year, we went to Mexican all the time. So it's just it was hard to eat healthy. You know, you want to get the margarita, the chips, and all of that. And we'll be going out to bars later. So it was just, and it was all the time. And I did feel the social pressure to be skinny. But then I also was like, how am I supposed to do that? So that's just kind of where I got to, you know, I know I won't be going out this much once I have a job in the real world. So that's where that mindset came from. But then basically, so junior year happened, still kind of the same mindset. And then second semester, my junior year, I had a class over lunch. And that's when I learned about like a calorie deficit and things like that because I just dropped a ton of weight. And at that time, I just got in a boyfriend, my now husband, but we would go out to dinner and stuff, and I was still losing weight and I was eating whatever I wanted. So I was like, holy shit, I just cracked the code. I thought I was a genius. I just wasn't eating lunch. But I
But
kind
you
of
were still eating breakfast?
yes, I was eating
Yeah.
breakfast, but my class was at 8 a.m. So I parked my hazards in front of my sorority house, run in, get like a piece or two of bacon and a biscuit,
Uh,
get in my car and drive there. So I was eating crap, but I was like, well, I can eat what I want if I skip lunch because I'm still losing weight.
yeah.
So I
So,
started,
I think it's interesting because a lot of people, um, like can't skip a meal at all. And I am always shocked in surgery, you can't eat after midnight when you're having surgery the next day. So some people don't have surgery until like noon or later in the afternoon. And they're always talking about how crazy it is they didn't eat all day. And I always think it's so unusual because it shouldn't be that hard to skip some meals. I'm not advocating that you skip meals, but my theory or my feeling is if you don't eat a lot of sugar, you're not craving the sugar. You can skip breakfast and be fine until lunch.
I
If
agree.
you have breakfast, you can go till dinner. And learning how that you can go on also means that you're like, oh my gosh, I missed lunch. I have to stop by McDonald's. Like it's actually I don't think you have to intermittent fast, but knowing that you can intermittent fast to be like it's better to not have anything than to have McDonald's is not a bad attitude necessarily.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say I don't think I was because I was eating like a biscuit. I don't think I did it the best way, but I do agree with that. And now I have breakfast just because I take a bunch of vitamins and stuff and it upsets
Uh-huh.
my stomach if I don't. But honestly, I on the weekends sometimes I don't eat until like 11.
Yeah.
I just do it and like when I if I just maybe in 20 years from now, depending on what happens in life, I probably won't eat until 11. I'm just not who's I don't think anyone is generally hungry at 6 in the morning. And if you
Yeah.
are, you're a liar. Like how do you wake up at 6 in the morning starving?
So as
Um
you as you got out of college, the course of college, how did things change from freshman year to senior year? Like did you by the time you left college, were you in a good place?
So basically, so I took that calorie deficit skipping meals to the extreme. And I think there's the good, I think calorie deficits are good. If you're 50 pounds overweight, you need a calorie deficit. I was not. And I probably could have used a little bit of one, but I took this and I rolled with it. I was like, I am a genius. I'm going to be skinnier than I was in high school. And I was. I got very small, but I wasn't I wasn't on a calorie deficit of steak and eggs. I was on a calorie deficit of protein bars, cauliflower rice, and plantain chips. And just so I was eating shit, that I thought at the time was healthy. But I got terrible acne, the worst acne of my life, which I literally took me till this year to cure. I've been on so many medications trying to get rid of that acne, but I blame it on my senior year of college because I think I've basically ruined my gut health for about 5 years because my gut was just so I don't know the science of the terms of it, but I just ruined whatever the gut microbiome is that the right word is.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I got the worst anxiety of my life as well. I was super anxious all the time, and I was going through a big change. I was about to graduate, so I get that. But I really blame it on my gut health because now we know that your gut is kind of like your second brain. And I was not eating whole foods. I wasn't eating the steak and the eggs and the salad. Um, I was eating the protein shakes, which, like I said, is still processed food. And then I also like I was so restrictive that I would get dizzy throughout the day. And I was like, oh, I just need water. No, I probably just needed some steaks. Like, so
Were
anyway,
you working out during this time?
nope. I was
Okay.
not working out at all. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, Emma's really fit and really muscular. I was just, I had no muscle on me. I was just small, you know? So I
Okay.
was literally using a calorie deficit to make myself a certain size. And I thought what I was doing was the only way to be skinny. I was like, other people are just, I mean, this is somewhat true. Like people are born with different metabolisms. But
Uh-huh.
I was like, everyone else is wrong unless they are born super, super skinny. This is what I have to do. And because I saw that body image stuff in the early 2000s where like someone was called a size 6 and they were called fat, I was like, well, I have to, which is size 6 for girls is an average size woman. Like that's a normal
Okay.
size.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I have to be the smallest I can be. And this is all that works for me at this point in my life. Right. So
So
then
how did that get into your head that you had to be small? That society?
I think it was just society, and I honestly I feel like I don't know, I can't speak for girls who are that age now, but, like, when I was growing up, like and I do believe in the Victoria's Secret fashion show, like, if that is, like, their sport, they should show the best models, but I just grew up in a time where it was, like, and everyone was like, eating disorders were glorified, you know? I would read the diets when I was, like, in the, magazines, and they would have coffee for breakfast, chicken for lunch, and then chicken or salad for dinner, and that was it. There's you know, they weren't getting fats and things like that, and I just was like, "If I am not small, I'm not pretty."
Where were you getting your nutrition exercise, sorry, nutrition information from? Like
Like, People
magazines?
magazines, so it
Uh-huh.
wasn't a good source, like,
Okay.
I just was stupid and I just had a warped mind. Like, and I just was like, nobody understands this is what you have to do to be skinny. Cause I think I already said this, I would have defended it to anybody. Anyway, so then COVID happens and I move in with Matt and he was the one, and I will say this, he has God's best metabolism. He is blessed. I hope my children get that metabolism one day. But I will say this, he has really good eating habits. When he's hungry, he grabs protein. You know, he's always cooked with butter and things like that. And like ghee. But I remember one time when it was during COVID, he started cooking with butter and I started freaking out. I was like, that's going to make me fat. What are you doing, you idiot, you imbecile? And he was probably like, this girl's so psycho and she's living with me in a lockdown. But yeah, so he was the one that was kind of like, you're psycho. Like, this is not normal what you're doing. He's like, you've taken something to an extreme. So
Uh-huh.
he was like, "You're like so." Basically, and you know how there's like people, there's a stereotype of girls that when they move with their boyfriend, they gain weight,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I do think that a little bit happened to me. But so basically, I feel like I gained some healthy weight, and Matt was cooking a lot. I still was like, I can only eat chicken and cauliflower rice. I just was not on the steak and eggs train yet. But basically, so I gained a little bit of weight. I'm eating more, and I'm not as like, but I'm still eating the processed protein shakes and things. So I'm still dealing with the acne. Anxiety's getting a little bit better, but and I tried walking, but I lived in a place where if it was on the seawall, I'd get catcalled. So I didn't like being catcalled because that made me feel unsafe. And I just hadn't been bought into the whole fitness again yet. Because I only knew about running and walking. And so anyway, then I'm in my second year of teaching and I get into a little bit of a toxic environment. So I start stress eating. And I look back and at that time, I didn't even realize that I was snacking so much during the daytime at school because I'd go home and I'd eat healthy. And still to this day, if you looked at my diet compared to the average American, I would have looked like I was amazing, which is so sad. But I was
Yeah.
just snacking throughout the day because I was stressed. And I was like, and then we go out to dinner on the weekends more than we do now because I was like, oh,
What were you snacking on? Like
ah,
protein bars
there-
or Snickers bars?
both protein bar. I've never been the person to snack on Cheetos and like Snickers and candy and things like
Uh-huh.
that. Sometimes goldfish, but it was called these chickpea puffs. Have
Uh-huh.
you seen
Yeah.
those?
Yeah.
Which are honestly disgusting, by the way. I don't know why, but I was like, oh, this is gonna make me like. I just snack on it because I was like, oh, I'm hungry, and you don't. you don't need 5 meals a day. Like you don't. Nobody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But so then I was overweight, and then it was, I think it was Christmas of 2021. I was sitting in my car, and because I'm tall, maybe it's not even because I'm tall. I just was ignoring the issue that was happening. I was sitting in my car, and I kind of was like, I don't recognize myself. And I was like, oh, I feel bad for myself. And I was like, you know what? Don't be a goddamn pussy. You're gonna get your act together. You're gonna
We're not
man.
deleting that out. Your grandmother's heard you say that. Just keep going.
Wait, then what
Keep
should I say
going.
instead? I said, okay.
Wimp.
I was like, don't be a goddamn wimp. You're gonna man up. You told me I could cuss.
I know. Keep going. This is great.
Um, don't be a goddamn wimp. You're gonna man up and you're gonna fix this. You did this to yourself. You can get yourself out of this. And also, with this, at the time, a couple months before this, when I realized I had gained some weight, that's when I feel like the body positivity movement had really come out. So it was kind of like, oh, you're beautiful the way you are. And yes, everyone's beautiful, but like, if you don't feel good and if you're not doing everything you can for your health and you're still overweight, you need to go to the fucking gym. You need to get your diet together. If you're doing everything you can and you're maybe 5 pounds overweight, whatever. But like so that kind of warped my mind because I would be like, oh, well, maybe this is just the size I'm supposed to be. No, it wasn't. I was being lazy and I wasn't taking care of my health. Do you have something
So
to say?
here's my interjection. So I commonly tell people in my practice when I have to talk about weight, and people will say, "Well, I have this injury, so I can't work out, and that's why I'm heavy." And I always say, your weight is determined by what you eat. How you look at that weight is determined by working out.
I agree with
Um,
that 1,000%. Body composition.
yeah. And I also think that once you learn to eat stuff that is good for your digestive system, that feels filling, not stuff that you eat it and then you're starving an hour later, and really think about the stuff that gives you energy when you eat, you're more likely to stick with it. And then as a result, you'll get to your natural weight, So I do
Yes.
worry that your generation, you obviously thought about, oh, I got to be skinny, I got to be skinny. And that's probably not a healthy way to think about it. Instead of maybe learning how to eat stuff that makes you feel good and gives you energy, and then the
Yes.
ultimate result will be not skinny, but you'll be the weight you're supposed to be, you know. Like
I
there's a
agree with
picture
that.
in the Olympics of all like the gold medal women athletes, and they're all different shapes and sizes, but they're all in great shape, kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
I agree with that. So, should I finish my
Yes, keep going. Keep
So
going.
then basically, I enrolled in CrossFit, which I know some people love CrossFit, but I still, when I was doing CrossFit, I felt puffy the whole time. And now I don't blame that on CrossFit. I blame it on, and I've said this 50 bajillion times that this could be a meme. I blame it because I was influenced by the fitness industry. So I was doing protein donuts, protein quest, everything. So I obviously still eating the processed food. So I still hadn't gotten the food part down yet. So then basically I got engaged and I have lost some weight doing all that, obviously, because I wasn't eating crap. Like, I mean, I guess that's still crap, but I just was more locked in and I was doing the fitness. But so I looked better, but I wasn't comfortable with what I looked like yet. So then I got engaged, and I might get canceled for this, but honestly, I don't care. I did not want to be a fat bride. I didn't. I wanted to feel good about myself on my wedding day. So I was like, holy shit, what am I going to do? And I think Matt just had some sort of shift where he had to work like during dinner time. So I just made myself like scrambled eggs for dinner for 2 weeks straight because at the time I hated cooking. And I was like, I feel great in the morning and I feel great after eating it. So I just started eating. So I need a sip of water. I just started eating a lot of eggs and things like that. And I was like, okay, well, I need to move. So I would do online Pilates and bar classes. Her name's Move with Nicole. And I really liked her videos, and I didn't dread doing the workout. So I kept up with that, got married. Then we moved to San Antonio, And this is where I discovered that I know I have to do group fitness. Otherwise, that's what keeps me consistent is the social aspect of it. But I joined Pure Barre because I was like, well, I don't know anybody. I need some friends. So I joined Pure Barre. I work there now on the weekends for fun because I love it so much. But I started going, loved it. And I actually felt like I was building a lot of muscle too. So anyway, we're doing that, blah, blah, blah. I would say my diet, I'm starting to eat more normally. When I say normal, I mean like steaks, pork chops, things like that. I'm not like, you can only eat chicken and cauliflower rice, you know? I'm branching out more, but I still hadn't grasped the idea of whole foods yet. And it actually took me until, so this February, this whole year of 2020, what year is it? 2024, probably until about August when I really dived into this issue was I was having horrible gut issues. Horrible. And if you post pictures, I have a picture that shows I felt 9 months pregnant sometimes because my digestion was so bad. And I was like, what is wrong with me? So, and because I was still doing the sugar free this, low fat that. So, anyway, one day I was at the grocery stores in February, and I'll never forget this moment. I grabbed the coffee cream. I was getting the coffee made sugar free coffee cream, which, by the way, is banned in Europe because their federal regulations are better than ours. But anyway, I'm reading the back of it and I'm like, there's not even milk in this. So I'm like, what the hell am I putting in my coffee? So, and it was funny because this man came up to me and he goes, once you start reading food labels, you will never go back. And it's so true. So then I really did a deep dive. And that's when I really started learning about like gut health and things like that. But
So do you use like now do you use an app or anything to help
I
you read
use
through
Bobby
labels?
Approved, which when I first saw Bobby Approved, I was like, that causes eating disorders. But
Uh-huh.
now when I've actually used Bobby Approved, it's not about what you're eating. You can find cookies, ice cream, things that are not good for you on Bobby Approved. It's about the ingredients,
So
which
there's no secret
now for my
ingredients.
what I believe with health and fitness is I think you need to strength train and walk. But I also think that the ingredients in your food is the most important thing. I read the back of labels for everything. It's honestly addicting. I get um for dinner every night, Matt and I have a protein and then a vegetable, and then I give him a carb. Not that I just don't feel the need for carbs. They don't give me energy the way that protein and veggies do, so I just don't have one. But I would get him potato salad, and I read the back of it one day, and it had yellow food dye in it. And I'm like, that is disgusting. So that's what I look at now is more so just ingredients. I really focus on protein and ingredients. So
So
that is
I
my life
yeah.
fitness story.
So well, let's stick with the ingredients thing. The thing about that I always worry about is when it drives me crazy that people can try to eat healthy and then there's all these secret ingredients that are ruining your metabolism. And I feel
Yes,
so bad for that because that's one of the biggest reasons for failure. And I hate that people are putting in the effort and then they get tricked and they don't feel better. They don't see results. And it's because of all those secret ingredients. And, there's plenty of people who are 30, 50, 100, 150, 200 pounds overweight. And I think a lot of them are not eating all day long. I think their metabolism, their gut health is so messed up. And it has to do with a lot of those secret ingredients that just have destroyed their health
I
over their
agree. And
lifetime.
that's what I think. I think my senior of college, I destroyed my gut health. And I think that's why I had acne, I had anxiety. Your gut health is your gut is your second brain,
Mhm.
basically, right? So it
Yeah.
controls everything. So if your gut health and all of these foods, these processed foods, are just destroying your gut. So you're not going to lose weight. You're going to be anxious. That's how what mental health disorders, skin, all of these things that make you feel bad about yourself can be linked, I feel like linked back to all this processed ingredients in our food. And it's even coming down, it's actually sad. So I put cottage cheese in my eggs for extra protein. And there's two brands of cottage cheese. You don't think that cottage cheese is a processed food. You can pick up 2 jars of cottage cheese. One of them has 50 ingredients, one of them has two. And I'm like, how did we get into this place where, and this is the thing about all those people that you were just describing, they're like, okay, this influencer or whoever, my doctor told me cottage cheese and eggs. So they're getting cottage cheese and eggs, but they're getting this cottage cheese that has all of these bioengineered food ingredients that is messing up their metabolism, their gut, and they're going to give up because they're not losing weight because it's not working.
Yeah. So back to fitness. So one of my thoughts is that there's so many different ways to exercise, and it's hard to get people to exercise. And I feel like when somebody comes to the doctor, their doctor kind of just says, "Oh, you need to get in shape. You need to exercise." And I think a lot of people think you need to run, and that means they go run 3 miles 4 days a week, slow at a 10 mile minute a mile pace, which is really hard. And if you don't love running, you're not going to stick with it. So your story is basically a story of finding the exercise that you actually like. Um, so is it so basically there's the competitiveness, you like to be around people. Do you think, have you noticed at all that like your mind feels better when you're doing, say, Pilates and you're in a group class, like you're not thinking about anything besides the exercise, whereas maybe when you're doing other stuff you don't enjoy as much, you're like, oh my God, how much longer? It's only been
Yes,
5 minutes.
1,000%, because even there's I there's this one move that we do in Pure Bar that I hate. I loathe it. And I think about it during that 130 seconds. If they have it, they switch it up. That I'm like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. But then the rest of it, I'm like, la di da di da, just my
Yeah.
mind is clear. I'm thinking about, oh, the workout. So it does. And then when I'm on a walk, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm not thinking about, oh my God, this sucks. So I really think it's important just to find something that you can stick with.
So how does your exercise help you with stress reduction?
So, I feel like you're not thinking about it as much in the morning. So I work out at 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. And that helps me because I feel like I start my day on a good note. And this is gonna make me sound so cocky, but I also, when I work out at 5:30 a.m., I think to myself, I am better than the majority of people in this country who are sitting on their ass or in bed right now. I am like, I have worked out, I've taken my dog to the bathroom, I'm making scrambled eggs, and some people are just getting up, So I am like, I am elite. And then so that is also just a confidence booster in whole. The walking, on my walks, I sometimes I just sit there and think. And I don't think that this sucks. I just think through things, and it's just the endorphins that I get to release. I just feel so good. Like, since I started walking 10,000 steps a day, and my anxiety has gotten a lot better in the past 2 years just from fixing my diet and things like that. But since I started walking, I'm like, I'm so chill. Now, I do still have like travel anxiety and things like that. We're traveling next week, and I'm already bugging mad about it. But like
Yeah.
normal day to day anxiety stuff, I just feel that stuff doesn't bug me anymore. I'm not as anxious.
So, what advice would you give, say, middle schoolers, high schoolers, college people, if we all accept that you need to exercise? Exercise is like the number one thing that helps depression or anxiety. What advice would you have as far as like finding what works for you?
I will say this. Uh, I really think it's important well, starting off with middle schoolers, I really believe in the importance. I actually wrote a paper on this in college, the importance of youth sports. I don't think just because of health and fitness, I think it also teaches you how to get along with others. It teaches you competitiveness. And it also teaches you that you're not going to be the best at everything in life and you have to work for things, like you're not going to be just given something on the team. You got to work for that spot. But I think it's important for so many aspects. So when I say young kids, put them in youth sports. They don't have to be the best on the team, but they'll practice, they'll run around. That's a workout. Um, the biggest thing I think about when you ask that is freshman year of college, because freshman year of college is so hard because you don't have a kitchen, you know? And like it's not like you're gonna microwave steak in your microwave, you don't have a stove. Or at least you don't if you're in the dorm rooms. Um, I do think that if I was a college student, I would download, and Bobby should honestly sponsor me for shouting out his app so much, but
Yeah.
download Bobby approved because you can find like protein bars and other things like that you can have for breakfast in your dorm room. It's called, like, there's one that's called the Perfect Bar, and you could essentially make it at home. Like I can make it in my kitchen right now because it has good ingredients in it. And I just that's what I would do. And I think for fitness, go on a walk. I should have just gone on a walk. I think put a podcast in. When I was in 2016, like podcasts weren't as big of a thing then. So I was like, if I go on a walk, what am I gonna do? And my friends had different class times. It's just a weird year, freshman year. But that's what I would say. I think getting 10K steps a day, or whatever you think that number is for you. I would just focus on walking your freshman year, and then maybe your sophomore year. I mean, I don't want to be like join a gym because people have money things, but I think if you can consistently walk throughout college, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. If you're walking 10 whatever steps a day, I think is a good spot. I think for fitness too, sophomore year, you're going to have a kitchen.
Do you do any technology like tracking your workouts? Like, do you think that's important or do you think that's actually more stressful?
More stressful. I do. I'm such a loser. I have a pedometer right now because I want to track my steps. But I do that. I'm ask. I have never been a big fan of the Apple watches. One, because I just think they're ugly. But I I've tried Fitbits before. I just don't know how accurate they are. I've not tried an Apple Watch. I'm asking for an Aura Ring for Christmas, so I'll have to get back to you on that because I know you can track your workouts on that. I would be interested to see. I do like knowing my step count. That is one thing I care about with that. But I
Okay.
think they do. But I'm not asking for an Aura Ring because of the fitness and stuff aspect, and the step count aspect.
And
I
then,
feel like they can cause a little bit of stress because then you're checking it the whole time.
yeah. And you don't want to be like, oh, I'm at 9,000 steps. I got to walk around the bedroom before I can get in
Yes,
bed.
for
Like that.
sure. I
That's,
just do
yeah.
I like and I don't wear the pedometer every day. It was more so like an experiment to see how far I needed to walk each day to get those steps. But like, I lost my train of
What
thought.
about
But
like,
there
what about like social media or podcasts? Like, do you find any of them inspirational or like, I know guys do that. Like guys will follow influencers that are inspirational. Do you find inspiration doing that? Like if you're scrolling Instagram and you're like, oh, that girl's squatting or deadlifting a certain amount of weight. Like,
I don't like following girls' fitness accounts because I feel like
uh
there's a lot of lies, but you know,
yeah,
I just don't like they could be on Ozempic behind screens. You just don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of fear mongering, like which I mean, I literally just did. I just talked about how bad I think the food industry is, but I feel like there's some stuff that um sometimes when I listen to the wellness community, I'm like, I am someone who's bought into that, but someone who is just interested in fitness that's 250, like 200 pounds overweight, that might kind of scare them from starting their journey.
Yeah.
Um, I do, yeah, okay, I do follow homesteaders, people that are like making steaks and like, so I guess I just kind of lied. I don't follow the person who's squatting. I follow the people who are making all their food from scratch, like making their kids goldfish from scratch. That's
Okay.
the stuff I follow because that's what I find interesting. Is
Okay.
just because my obsession with ingredients. I find it interesting. I like to see the recipes of how they're replicating food that kids are gonna want. As someone who hopes to be a mom one day, they're replicating foods of like that kids are gonna want, but making a healthy version of it, like someone could have eaten in the 1950s. Like you can make it
Yeah.
easily from home.
So, gonna get into basically having kids, and with the warning that I remember before we had kids, looking at like maybe a niece or a nephew and being like, "Oh, we'll never feed our kids chicken nuggets," and then 5 years later, our kids are eating chicken nuggets, or we'll never let our dog jump on people, and then our dog's jumping on people. So, granted, you don't know what's gonna happen. But do you have any like start with just like nutrition plans for uh when you have kids or how you're going
So
to try to teach nutrition in your home.
I do agree that I might say this, and then 10 years you'll show me this clip, and you'll be like bullshit. When I think about having kids, I do think it's important to expose them to all food groups, but also I hope, and I say this, and we'll see what happens. But because I think, I've read a lot of studies about processed food and autism rates, which if I have a kid with autism, I'll love them. It's not that, but even just not even autism, just like mental um health and things like that, just the connection between processed food and those. So I really want to limit my kids' exposure to that just to give them the best chance. Um
And does that starts before you even think about getting pregnant, right?
yes, yes, that
Huh,
starts now. You know,
okay.
essentially like you're if you're like if I was eating Cheetos every day, my child's more likely to have autism, mental health disorders. Am I saying that correct? Politically correct?
Let's just move on.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
You should leave that part in, that was
Yeah,
funny. That's why
yeah.
I was like,
My first
mental
podcast
health,
was with
but
Matt,
I'm
and
just trying to be politically
Matt
I'm
was
trying
able
to
to
be
correct me.
I'm trying to be politically correct. But,
Okay.
there's just a big connection between processed food and that, but I also wanna expose my kids to all food groups. So I'm saying this now, we'll see what happens, but, like, I follow this mom who, she posts videos, and I don't believe in giving your kids Oreos every single day, but you also wanna expose your kids to Oreos, so when they're 30, they're not binge eating Oreos kinda thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you wanna be able to give them a treat when they come home Friday from school, like, "Happy weekend," but I don't wanna give my kids processed food, so I say this I hope to be a mom that girl, she posts easy, simple recipes where I can make it. Or I'm using something like Bobby approved, where at the grocery store scanning for a cookie that has good ingredients in it. Because basically, if I'm buying crackers, cookies, or I actually never buy cookies store bought, but if I am on the weekend, like I'm like, oh, I want something like a fun cracker or something like that for like we're making our charcuterie board, but I want something with good ingredients. I'll take my Bobby approved app. And if I'm like, if I can make this from home and I'm buying this as convenience, that's different. But if I'm buying something that has 50 ingredients I can't buy at the store, then I shouldn't eat this. So that's what I kind of think what I would like to do with my kids is if I can find something at the store that I'm like, okay, I can pronounce every single one of these ingredients. And I'm dyslexic, so that's not a ton. um, if I can pronounce it, I'm like, okay, it's safe. But if
Uh,
I'm like, phosphate, why is phosphate in our food? I just,
yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe a scientist can come and be like, phosphate's in this because of this. But I'm
yeah.
just like, I personally don't feel the need for phosphate to be in a cracker. But
So I think one of the struggles is say you have the best intentions. And you're like, we're going to give our kids whole foods, but we're also going to have treats. And you're like, okay, on Friday, we're going to go out for ice cream. And on Sunday, while you're watching the Ravens win, we're going to have pizza. What you don't realize that your kid goes to a birthday party on Saturday and they have candy and they have cake and then they come
yes,
home with candy and then it's Halloween and you got candy and then it's Christmas and you got candy and then you're having, Joey's birthday at school and the mom brings him cupcakes. Like it's actually pretty hard. Like it'd be interesting, even if you had the best intentions, how many outside world junk kids are exposed to. Like and they end up getting a lot more than you probably think or would more sugar than you would want them to at times.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I feel like, and then your kid also, this is kind of like what I said earlier happened to y'all is I was like, why do all my friends have these cool snacks and I don't? You know, the kid gets confused because they're just too young to understand. And it's also like, when they're at school and stuff, like if their teacher gives them a snack or something like that. So with that, I'm gonna say it's not even my first rodeo yet. I
Mm.
don't know what I'll do with that. I think at that point, I'm like, you have to live your life. I'm not going to stress out about my kid being at a friend's house. But I am, when they're at my house, going to feed them good food and expose them to different food groups.
Okay, so and then back to fitness and sports. So what were your lifelong lessons you learned from sports and how do you think they've helped you with your fitness now?
Lifelong lessons from sports. I think you should put every child in a sport. I think it teaches you how to get along with others, how to
Mhm.
problem solve. I think it teaches you have to work for things in life. And I think it also teaches you you're not going to be the best at everything, but that's okay. You don't have to be the best at everything. You can be best at something else. And I think it also teaches you that the importance of just community. I've already said that. And for fitness wise, I think that you realize how much fun you're having when you're being active with others. You're enjoying the competition. You're enjoying, oh, I want to get the ball, depending on what sport you're playing, and things like that. And it's with what was your second part?
Do you think former athletes basically say they quit playing sports in college or in high school, or they quit playing sports in college, whenever it is, even if they take a couple years off, do you think they have it easier trying to get into fitness?
Ye- No one's ever asked me that. I feel like yes. I don't know why I'm saying yes, but I feel like they
I would feel like
would
maybe
than
there's a
someone who has never played sports their whole life. And what were you gonna say? I don't know
I just
exactly
feel like
why.
there's probably a leg up maybe in just the idea of doing hard things. Like if somebody said,
Yes.
"Hey, Emma, you wanna do a 5K in a month?"
Yeah, I'd
It
be
wouldn't be that
like,
hard,
"Okay,
or
like,
yeah,
I'm not
or
gonna
if
be a
they
loser,
said,
I'm gonna go do it with you."
"Can
Yeah.
you swim across that river?" You'd be like, "Yeah, why not?" Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't be a big deal.
Well, I actually was thinking about that earlier when we were just talking about, and I didn't say this, but when we were talking about just life growing up, I was like, I was also in a community where we were fit. Like, I remember one time me and my friends were like, let's for fun swim from this pier to another. So, fitness, and like, that's a workout essentially. And I was 10 years old, you know?
Yeah.
So, I also just feel like I also, besides playing sports, grew up in a community where like our hobbies were technically workouts. Like,
Didn't you have a thing in college where somebody bet you to swim to a buoy or something, or
yes, I was in where did I go? Punta Cana for spring break. And they're like, no one can swim to this buoy. And I was like, I can. And I swam. I was the only one.
did
I
you
probably
make any
shouldn't
money?
have because I was like in the middle of the ocean and I'm terrified of sharks. But you know what? You always told me as long as you're not the slowest person.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Did
that would have been a good way to go down.
did
So
you did you make any money doing it?
no, I should have though.
Yeah.
I was
So
just trying to prove everyone wrong because I'm stubborn.
so for the future, what like do you think the future will look like for fitness and nutrition? Like apps, technology, information? Will people like right now? I think there's a huge lack of information of what you're supposed to eat. Do you
Yes.
think all that's going to be a lot better over the next 10, 20 years? Like when you're basically the world your children grew up in, you think in some ways it'll be easier, or you think it'll be hard?
Well, I don't want to get political,
No, no,
but
no. I don't want to get into any politics. What I'm thinking about is like when my grandparents grew up, I think they probably ate the way we're trying to eat now. When
yes,
I
I
was
agree with
growing
that.
up, we just didn't know. So like I had sugary cereal, Pop Tart, orange juice, and then headed off to school, and then maybe wondered why I was on the principal's couch by 9:30.
But
I was
also,
jacked up on sugar, and my parents were health conscious. It's just we didn't know. We had margarine instead of butter.
yeah,
We
but
had a lot of
also when you
carbs.
were eating those Pop Tarts, the ingredients are different than what they are now, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you should give kids sugar for breakfast at all from a former teacher. But I do think, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of lack of information, but I do think the wellness community from the people that are talking about like steak and like carnivore, more things like that, and the importance of protein is getting bigger. I hope that this movement, because I mean, I do, like you said, lack of information. I do feel like there is a movement that's showing we just need to eat how they did in the 1950s, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to be eating Pop Tarts, Cheetos, goldfish. Um, yeah.
And then what about sports? Like, do you think sports is getting too competitive? Like, do you think it'll scale back a little bit? If the idea for fitness is you want as many kids participating and having fun as possible,
Yes.
um, do you think that'll keep going, or do you think it's getting super competitive where it's like if you're not trying to make a college basketball team, don't even play basketball?
Well, it's hard because with that, I do think that, you want to be the best at your sport and you want to get noticed. And now a lot of people want to be the best at your sport. But I also agree with like, you want every kid to play. I remember I was in the seventh grade and all the girls at my lunch table, were talking about playing college lacrosse. And they were like, Emma, are you not going to do whatever the club lacrosse was in Maryland so that you can play college lacrosse? And I was like, I want to be in a sorority in college, you know? But like even in the seventh grade, like people were thinking about that. And now I look back and I'm like, we all had braces. We were 12 years old. Why were we thinking about playing college lacrosse? And I
Yeah.
think only one of those girls ended up playing college lacrosse. But I do think it's the I don't have the best answer for this, but does need to be a balance, you know? Like there
Uh-huh.
needs to be a way that people get noticed, you know, for their sport and being the best at their sport. Because I do think that's really important. But then I also believe that you need to give kids the opportunity to be on a team because it's so important for their fitness, their mental health.
So what's your best memory of playing sports, either youth sports or high school sports?
My best memory of playing sports was when I don't know my senior year of college. I wanted to be run a 7-minute mile. I was determined, and I've actually thought about doing this again. Um,
Senior of high
just for
school?
just what?
Senior year of high
Yeah,
school?
senior of high
Okay.
school. I ran a 7-minute mile, and I had been working for it all season, and it was towards the end of the season, and I hit it, and I like wanted to cry. I felt so accomplished. Um, I just and that wasn't even like the actual like sport, you know, that was just running on the side. But I was running for my sport and my coach was proud of me. And everyone was like, way to go, Emma. Like I was finishing way ahead of everyone. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
went to what were we, a C division school, C B division school. So if I probably got to a different high school, I would have been in the back. But I'm not a fast person at all. So for me, this was a big deal and I felt very accomplished. I was like, I stuck with something and I did it. And I actually think about doing that a lot now when I live in Texas. So like once the heat, because it's still really hot here, once it cools down a little bit, so I don't die of heat stroke, just because I felt so accomplished and I felt like really fit.
So what's your worst memory of sports?
My worst memory of sports is when I was talking earlier about that phase in high school when I was going out with my friends and I gained a little bit of weight and I just wasn't taking fitness as seriously because I was too busy with my friends on the weekends to go for a run, which is bullshit. But I wasn't starting my junior year. I was on JV freshman year, started sophomore year, and I didn't start junior year. So that was my worst memory of not starting in that game. Because I was like, and that's when I learned that you have to earn your position. You know, nothing's guaranteed in life.
Yeah. And that's where I learned to not be a psycho dad because even maybe you're going through that, you still should have been starting. Like you were better than that one person. But we'll get into that at another
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, still, but also, like, it's kind of good that happened to, like, not that's good it happened to me, but now that took me in my head. I was like, I'm going to come back better next year. You
Uh,
know, like,
okay.
that's not happening to me again.
So you're talking to a 12-year-old girl. You're thinking about wrapping up this conversation, and you're talking to a bunch of 12-year-olds, and you're trying to give them life advice on nutrition, fitness, and stress reduction plans. They're 12 years old, so they might not have a long attention span. How are you trying to reach them? Knowing that there's all different body types. There's people who are super skinny but you can look at their parents and know that they are going to have a battle ahead of them that they're not ready for versus people who might be chubby, people who might be significantly overweight. Like, how are you trying to reach them?
I'd say for food, eat
Uh-huh.
protein, animal protein, and read the ingredients.
Uh-huh.
That's what I say for food, short and sweet. For fitness, find something you like. It doesn't matter what it is. Find something you like and you can stick with. And with both of those, I'm like, don't compare yourself to the people on TV. You know,
Uh-huh.
um, and then for stress, go on a walk. Literally, walking. If you like, just if you're sometimes when I'm stressed, like literally today, I realized I like I just think I said this earlier. I was like, I get travel anxiety. Even we're traveling next week for Ryan's wedding, and I was like, oh my god, I have to do this for our dog. I have to do this and do that. And I was like, you know, what, I'm just gonna go on a walk. I came back and I was fine. Instead of nagging
Uh-huh.
my husband about all the things that I was stressed about, I just went on a walk.
And then for young women, because even this discussion, which has been awesome, but we keep talking about skinny, 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 and I hate that term because because I don't think you actually, or I mean skinny, what we mean is your right weight, which is not
Yes,
necessarily skinny.
yes,
Some people are muscular, some people are,
yes.
have more,
Everyone looks different.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody looks different. So how would you want people to think about body image? How would you handle it with your daughters? How would you want people to think about it?
I I would say everyone looks like if we all ate the same, we all still look different. I think oof, this is when you're showing it really is my first rodeo. Um I would just tell them to eat healthy, as in what we just talked about, and the size that they're at is probably the size that they're supposed to be at. You know, if that 15, it's different if like they're 25 and they're eating and drinking every weekend, but at 15 and they're 14, I'd just be like, I just would want them, one, not to compare yourself to that person on TV. They could be on Ozempic, you don't know what
Yeah.
someone on TV is doing. But I'm not answering this question well. I don't know. Like
You're
I just
basically telling them that I just want to make the point. It's not skinny. It's being your
it's
correct,
healthy.
healthy weight
I would
where
kind of
you
be like,
feel
if you
good
are
and
you are
energized,
healthy,
and
you're eating
yeah.
healthy, you are the right weight for yourself. And yeah, skinny, and that just shows how I just the
Yeah.
verbiage, but or word not verbiage, whatever.
What do you think about and let me give you the background on this. What do you think about using scales? Because I don't think it's healthy to like weigh yourself all the time and be stressed about a pound here, a pound there, or 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there. But I do think that you don't want to all of a sudden be like, oh my gosh, I gained 25 pounds and I didn't
Yes.
know. So what's the relationship with the scale? Do you even have a scale?
Yes, I weigh myself once a week or once every 2 weeks, just depending on my mood. I think avoiding the scale is bad because that's how you gain 10 pounds and not realize it. Because that's what happened to me. If I had just weighed myself if every week, every 2 weeks, I would have realized I was gaining weight before, because sometimes it's just you're oblivious and you don't notice because if you've someone that has weight go everywhere, then you might not notice as much. But I think the scale is important. I don't think it should be your all and end all be all. I used to weigh myself senior year of college. I weighed myself twice a day. That is psychotic and not good for you. But I do think it's good to realize, maybe you're losing weight, if you're gaining weight, just to get a idea.
Do you think it just seems like there's a difference with scales with like guys? Because I feel like guys maybe like especially like a sport like wrestling where you gotta lose weight to make weight, or maybe football where you're like, man, I gotta gain weight if I want to be a starter, or lacrosse where you might need to lose weight or gain weight. Like guys are so used to with sports. I mean, even like professional athletes have weight clauses in their contract. I feel like it's less of this monster than it is for women. Would you agree with that, or is that crazy talk?
What wait, what do you less like not as big
Because
of a
like for
deal?
guys, it's no big deal to be
Yes.
more used to
Oh, okay.
the
Yes.
scale.
And
Like
I
they
think
grow
it's
up needy, like a guy who's an athlete grows up almost like needing to weigh themselves because they know they need to either gain weight or lose weight or whatever to compete in a sport. And I feel like
I feel like
it's
for
more
women, like
difficult for
it's
women.
very taboo to talk about weight and things like that. It's inappropriate to ask someone how much they weigh. And I just feel like women, they're, I don't know. I mean, I think it just started with the idea that if you're not 110 pounds like a Victoria's Secret model, then you don't want to share what you weigh because you don't look like a Victoria's Secret model, and you can still be healthy and fit and not look like them. But I feel like that's kind of where that started from. There's just more pressure. Like I don't want to say there's more pressure on women to look a certain way, and I definitely feel like it's more so, at least maybe it's just the side of Instagram and stuff that I'm on, just more pushed to focus on being strong and fit rather than being tiny, and just being healthy at a normal weight. But I do feel like for women, there it is more of a taboo topic.
So do you think it's possible that the next generation will be like what you said? Think about being strong and fit, like, oh, I can easily climb that mountain and I can do a certain amount of push-ups.
I hope
um,
so.
and eat for energy and eat for gut health and eat for your skin and those kind of things? Like, do you feel like it'll move that way, or do you think it'll just be this small niche of people who figure it out because they work really hard to figure it out?
I mean, I hope so. It's just about getting the information out there. That's what I hope to do with my kids, especially my daughters. And now that you just said that, that's what I want to do is just focus, teach, my kids, focus on being strong, being able to do push ups. Don't worry about what size your waist is.
Awesome. What else do you want to add?
Mm,
This is great. I learned a lot. My only thing I keep going back to is I worry about, like, if I'm thinking of like somebody being like, hey, they want their 12-year-old to listen to this. I just want to focus on the bodies coming all different shapes and sizes, and the words skin.
no, yeah. And
We
that's just
interchange skinny with healthy, and I think what we really meant was healthy.
yes, when I say
And
skinny, that just comes with what
yeah,
I grew,
I think yeah,
the
I think that's how your generation grew up calling it, and that's certainly how my
yes.
generation grew up calling
That's
it.
just
But
what
but
yeah, that's what I was gonna
yeah,
say, that's what my generation grew up like, it was skinny, it wasn't healthy, it was skinny, because you can also be skinny actually mean skinny, you can be skinny and smoking a six-pack of cigarettes a day, you could be unhealthy and be skinny.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think it's more important to be healthy rather than being, a double zero, but it's also better to be healthy than being a size 16 and eating whatever or not size 16, cut that out. I don't want to get canceled, but
Well, I
like
don't know how to edit. I don't know how to edit, so this
oh
is
shit.
all in
Okay.
here.
Well, I think a size 16 is above standard sizing. I think that's in the plus size.
Yeah,
So if I'm
yeah.
canceled, it was nice knowing everybody.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that's in the plus sizing. So there is like you need like the in between. And I said this earlier. I was like the body positivity movement is toxic, but then it's also good for normalizing like the healthy standard person. Like you don't have to be a Victoria's Secret model, but then you also should not be a size in the shopping in the plus size section.
So, like, the Olympic commercial that I talked about is great because it's showing the shot putter, who has to have some weight to shot put, and the rugby player, but it's also showing the gymnast, the swimmer. It shows all
Yes.
different body
Well,
parts, and you
I
can be super healthy at different body sizes.
Sports Illustrated this year put the rugby girl on the cover of their magazine.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for young girls just to see because she just looks strong. She doesn't look like the Kim Kardashian, the Candace, whatever her last name is. That was a big person in the early 2000s. She looks like a strong woman. I forget what her name is right now. She's on Dancing with the Stars though.
Yeah.
But and I think it's important that that kind of image, like she's healthy, she's strong, she's fit, is being shown to young girls.
Yeah. So, how many push-ups to wrap this up? How many push-ups can you do right now?
Do you want me to do some right now?
No, no, I'm just curious. How many push-ups can you do right now?
Like 7?
7?
On a good day. Sometimes I can do more, and it honestly depends on the time of day.
And these are full real push-ups.
Oh, yeah, girl push-ups, I'm nonstop.
Okay. And
My
then
goal is I
how many are
really
you gonna
want
be able to do this time next year?
15, 20, hopefully.
Okay.
I really wanna be able to do a pull-up,
And
but
now
I
what
can't.
happened the last time you were in a push-up contest?
Oh, I fell and almost broke my nose. It's still a little bit crooked. Roddy already punched me in the face when I was 8, so it already was crooked. But y'all don't care since you already married me off, so it's fine.
All right. So that was fun. Yeah.
That
Do
was
you have any
fun.
last words? Do you have anything else you want to say? This is great.
No,
But
I want to do
we've
this
been
again.
talking.
I want to do
We
this again
will.
because this was my first rodeo, so I feel like next time I'll do better too. You
Okay. No,
know,
you did great. What do you want to talk about next time?
the food industry.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Okay.
I want
But
to talk
not
about
get
all the.
political.
I'll
But
bring
not get
articles.
political. Okay.
What?
You won't get political though? Okay. All right.
Well, the food industry should be cleaned up no matter who wins.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's
Yep.
a thing affecting everyone. Okay,
Yep.
I am going to make myself a grass-fed burger with raw cheese.
Oh, awesome. Do you put that on like iceberg lettuce or anything?
I put it on a salad. I have been making the best salad lately. It's spring mix, broccoli slaw, and then I use the dressing, the Primal Kitchen dressing, and I put a little bit of nuts and a little bit of goat cheese on it. So I'm getting broccoli, cabbage, spring mix, and then a little bit of goat cheese and nuts in it. It's delicious.
And then what are you having for breakfast tomorrow?
Scrambled eggs.
And then
Applegate sausage.
before you work out or after you work out?
After, if you were, I do not understand people who eat before they work out,
Uh,
especially on days you have to do burpees.
yeah. And then
I
what do you do
someone
for what do you do for lunch? Like, is it leftover dinner or what do you do for lunch?
okay, people are gonna think this is so gross, but I truly do believe that eggs are nature's multivitamin.
Uh-huh.
Um, and my skin is perfectly clear, by the way,
Yeah, it
since I
looks great.
started doing this. But I love egg salad, but mayonnaise, just the macros in mayonnaise, and I hate saying the calories in mayonnaise because I don't like counting calories anymore. But you're just not getting the bang for your buck. So instead, I have doing the egg salad with mayonnaise. I hard-boiled eggs, mash it up, and I add cottage cheese. So it's like a mock egg salad. It is so good. I'm so gonna be so sad the day I get sick of it. I have it every day for lunch. Every day.
So I was trying to sign off, but that totally raised a different subject. Is I feel like one of the problems in society with trying to eat healthy is that people want so much variety, and they
Oh,
don't
no, I
realize
eat the
that
same
you can
thing.
eat the same thing every day, you
So
know,
I eat
and
the
that's
same thing
easier
for
sometimes.
breakfast and lunch, dinner switches. So for breakfast, I have scrambled eggs and Applegate sausage. The reason I say Applegate is because Applegate has good ingredients in the sausage. I don't
Okay.
eat other sausage. That's why I'm saying the brand. And then I'm honestly never really hungry in the morning. That fills me up. If I am hungry, like if I'm gonna have like a 2 o'clock lunch, I'll have a chomp stick. Um, but honestly, I don't really snack anymore since my breakfast has gotten bigger. So,
Uh,
anyway, so then for lunch, I have the mock egg salad, and then I don't eat anything till dinner. And then for dinner every night, we have a protein. Normally, it's steak, pork chop, chicken, tuna, something like that. We have a salad or some sort of vegetable, and that's what mine is. And then I give Matt a carb because he's a man, he needs more calories.
so let's wrap it up on that. That was great.
Yeah. All right.
I'm supposed to have a section called "Tying It Up with Ty." That was Matt's recommendation, and I always wanted to end on a Rocky Balboa thing, but I can't figure out what this has to do with Rocky Balboa, except for the fact that in Rocky 1, when he first decides to get healthy, his pre-workout is he chugs raw eggs. But I think your breakfast sounds a lot better, so I think you should stick with
Yeah.
that.
Yuck. Yeah, I see that. I know we're trying to wrap up and I actually need to make my dinner, but I do see people online eating like raw meat and raw eggs. And I'm like, that is too far over the line for me. You know, like I am to the point where I want my own chicken so I can make like I know what goes into my food and stuff like that. And that's always wanted cows. And now I'm on board for it to have like a little homestead. I don't want to do all the work, but I do like having clean food. But when I see people eating the raw stuff, I'm like, y'all are too far over. Like that is a little scary.
Last thing, and then we promise we're going to sign off. Any comments on exercise, nutrition, having a dad who's a doctor and being married to a doctor? Like any different insight that you think you have, or not really?
I feel like yes. Um, I don't know. People people have asked me that before. I feel like for you, it's a lot more of just like what the field that you're in is. You know, you deal with people who might be overweight, and that's why they're having a knee issue. So just the importance of health and nutrition. With Matt, it is honestly realizing how sick people are because he told me the other day, he says, when I see someone with a BMI under 30, I get excited because that means they're going to be healthy. And you know, if someone with a BMI of 30 is still overweight,
Yeah.
like that's like obese. So it's just realizing how sad it is, how sick America is.
So you're hearing the stories down the line of like, if you don't take care of yourself when you're young, you
Yes. And
have some problems later.
yeah. And just, I don't know when I'm going to go in life, but I would, whenever I do go, I don't want to be in a wheelchair and I don't want to be overweight. I want to be running around living my life. Even if I die at 45, I hope to be still living my life to the fullest, you know?
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thanks for doing this.